Good morning, friends. Good to see you and to hear the music that you make out here as you have conversation. It's a beautiful music. Let's rise in body and our spirit and let's sing together. Hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit. The lyrics will be posted on the screen. If you're joining us online, they'll be posted in the chat. Or you can use a hymn book and see all of the parts. I know.
Good morning. Welcome to the Olympia UU congregation. Our community envisions an interconnected world that is loving, just, and healthy. We commit to live out our mission to welcome and wonder, embrace and empower, bridge and become. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Whitney Godby. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a member of the worship arts team. I'm a white woman in my late 30s with shoulder-length brown hair, and today I'm wearing a dark pink sweater. Leading worship with me today is our minister, Reverend Mary Gear, Troy Fisher, our music director, and Reverend Sara Lewis, the director of community and faith development. You are welcome here just as you are, whatever beliefs sustain you, whomever you love, however you understand and express your identity, and in all the ways you are still becoming the person you will be. Here are a few things you should know about our service that may help you feel more welcome. We're streaming live on Zoom and YouTube, and the service is being recorded. For those here in the sanctuary, you can see subtitles on the screen in front, and on Zoom if you're online. Over here we have fluffy chairs and activities for your hands so that you can be comfortable. We are a multi-generational community that welcomes people of all ages right here in the sanctuary. There is also nursery care and a storytime program for children in the classroom wing, so please be where you are most comfortable. We're grateful for the many hands that helped to make worship happen today. Thank you to all who contribute. After this service, everyone will have a chance to discuss reflection questions offered by Reverend Mary. For those online, we invite you to go into a breakout room for a virtual coffee chat. And for those in person, please feel free to stay for coffee and fellowship out in the Commons. At 11:30, after the coffee chat, please return to the main Zoom room or the sanctuary for a forum on building skills as an ally. There are prizes, so be sure to return. The stewardship team is offering several gather, grow, and guide sessions to discuss in community our relationship to OUUC. We'll have the opportunity to gather in the homes of congregation members for light refreshments and meaningful conversations about what OUUC means to each of us. During these small group sessions, we'll share stories, build connections, and deepen our sense of community. Please see the announcement in the OUUC weekly update for sign-up information, or check the chat if you're online. For those on site, you're also welcome to connect with one of the stewardship team members in the Commons after the service. You may have heard the exciting news that we'll be adding a second Sunday morning service starting on January 12th. We will open our doors wide to make room for everyone. Check out the weekly update for more information. There are many things happening at OUUC. Check out the Tuesday electronic update or check the website for the most up-to-date information. Now, let's open our hearts and minds as we prepare for worship. It is good to be together. This morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our faith tradition. We light our chalices together with the words of Linda Barnes. Suspended between all that was and all that might be, we struggle to find this very moment, to live this very moment. Let us sit together for a moment and savor this moment. Let us relish this between time where past meets future. Let us harbor a faith that reminds us that right here, right now, is enough.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Mary, and I use she, her pronouns. I am an older white woman wearing glasses, and today I have on the beautiful stole that you gifted me at the end of my sabbatical. This year, we're lighting an Advent wreath for the 4 Sundays leading up to Christmas. As Unitarian Universalists, it's valuable for us to reconsider and reinterpret the traditions of our ancestors. Our Unitarian Universalist faith grows from Christian roots. Some UUs identify as Christians, others don't. We also have among us Jewish UUs, UU Buddhists, UU humanists, UU pagans, and Unitarian Universalists who don't need a hyphen in order to describe themselves. Together, we grow and change as we share our insights and struggles in response to our spiritual practices. Last week, we lit the first candle for hope. Today, we will relight the candle of hope and we'll add a candle of peace. Would you please join me in responding with the words as they appear on the screen? We prepare for a new era of justice and reconciliation free from violence and coercion. Peace is possible. We give thanks for those who witness for a world made whole with all of her people one. We light the candles for peace and hope. Our opening words this morning are offered by Elena Westbrook. In a world ravaged by violence, by hatred, by conflicts that seem eternal and insoluble, sometimes the only thing we can do is be still for a moment, to remind ourselves what is real. The sun that rose this morning, the dirt under our feet, the air whispering in and out of our lungs. This hour, be present in each moment as it unfolds. Your simple attention is what makes these moments holy. Come, let us worship together.
I invite you to remain seated and let's sing together hymn number 83, Winds Be Still. The lyrics will be posted on the screen and also in the chat.
Good morning. I have a story to share with you that may be familiar to many. It is The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. So, $1.87. That's all that Della had managed to save up after months of trying to scrimp and save. And tomorrow was Christmas Day. What could she do with $1.87? Why, she couldn't possibly get Jim a good present for just that. Della was doing her best, but times were hard. And even with bargaining on the price of vegetables and being very, very careful, really, it was so hard to save up for Christmas. Looking around her little apartment and out the window, she just wasn't sure what to do. It seemed really hopeless. And then she caught a glimpse of her own reflection in the one mirror that they had on the wall, and she had an idea. She shook her hair down and looked at it. There were two things that she and Jim owned that they truly prized. One was Jim's pocket watch, which had been his father's and his grandfather's before that. And the other was Della's long, beautiful hair. Well, she would really like to get Jim a new chain for that watch, and she had an idea. It was hard, but she thought it would be worth it. And so she pinned her hair back up under her hat and she went out. And she went to a shop that said, Madame Sanoise, hair accessories of all kinds, and went inside. Would you buy my hair, she said to the shop owner. Well, let's see it, said Madame. And so Della took down her hair again and showed Madame, and Madame weighed it with practiced hands and said, $20. Done, said Della. And oh, what a fabulous next couple of hours she had, going from shop to shop with $21.87, looking for the perfect present for Jim. And then she found it. It was so perfect for Jim. A simple platinum chain, not flashy, not trying to be extra fancy, but just good quality, like Jim himself. She thought this would be perfect. No longer would he have to surreptitiously look at the time because he was ashamed of the leather strap holding his watch. No, he would pull it out all the time for everyone to see. Oh, what time is it? Oh, what time is it? When she got back home with the gift in her hands, she immediately started to try to do something with her hair. She worked on it for 40 minutes with the curling iron, trying to get something that looked half decent. And she thought, oh goodness, I do hope that Jim's not too mad when he walks in the door and sees me. And so she sat and she waited and she got the preparations done for dinner, and soon it was 7 o'clock and Jim was never this late. What could he be doing? She sat and then finally heard his step at the door, and Jim walked in and saw her. And there was a strange look on his face. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. She just couldn't tell what it was. He just stared at her. And she said, oh, Jim, don't it's not too bad, is it? It looks fine. It'll grow back. And he just stared at her. And then she said, no, really, I had to do it. It's Christmas, and I just really, really wanted to get you a wonderful present. And he said, he just stared at her. She said, no, really. Tell me what you're thinking, Jim. And he said, well, your hair's really gone? And she said, yes. And he said, well, and then he handed her a package and said, Della, don't get me wrong. There's nothing you could ever do that would make me love you less, and you look fabulous, but just look in this package and you'll understand my reaction. And so she opened the package and she gasped with joy. Oh my goodness, inside were the combs. The hair combs that she had been looking at in a shop window on Broadway Street for months, longing for. These were beautiful tortoiseshell, just the perfect color to put in her, oh, right, not there anymore, hair. Well, she said, looking at Jim with a smile, it does grow back awful fast. I'm going to love them later. And then she said, oh, but I haven't given you your gift yet. And so she handed Jim the chain. She said, isn't it perfect for your watch? Oh my goodness, it's going to be. And at that, Jim just started laughing and flopped down in a chair and said, Della, dear, maybe we should just put away both of our gifts for later. I sold the watch to buy you the combs. Now, at this point in the story, our author reminds us that the Magi were wise people who came and gave baby Jesus gifts, the first gifts of Christmas. And being wise people, no doubt, they gave terribly wise gifts. While our young couple could be said to have given terribly foolish gifts. Gifts from generosity and love, sacrificing the things they loved the most for the person they loved the most. And yet our author reminds us that actually these were terribly wise gifts. These were gifts of the Magi. Lessons our story.
each Sunday, we engage in the spiritual practices of generosity and gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to something greater than ourselves. We each have the power to share, and when we combine our gifts to create an offering, we're able to do more than any of us can do alone. We also express our gratitude for the gifts that life has given us, for the network of relationships in which we live, and for the presence of this community. If you are new or visiting us, welcome. You are our guest, and we do not expect you to contribute. However, if you are moved to be part of our offering, what you share will be most gratefully received. The offering collected here does two things. It helps support the ongoing work of this congregation, which is also supported by your regular pledges. This offering also supports an organization that serves our community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values. Our Share the Plate organization for November and December is CARE, which stands for Collaborative Association for Reintegration and Education. This is what they share about their work.
Olympia UU congregation, thank you for inviting us for this year's Share the Plate. I'm Katie Strozik, Interim Executive Director.
And I'm Aranza Vasquez, our Program Director. We represent CARE Olympia, which stands for Collaborative Association for Reintegration and Education, serving youth and young adults that have been impacted by the criminal legal system and the systemic barriers that coincide with incarceration or detention.
CARE is centered around empowering our community, and we believe that housing is a human right. A significant amount of research has proven housing-first methods are not only the most equitable, but also that they're evidence-based in having folks maintain housing and achieve self-identified goals. Having a home, clean water to shower, access to food, and basic necessities, these are all things that we can often blindly cherish, while others lack access to such vital resources. Available data finds that almost half of the youth who have experienced homelessness have also been in a juvenile detention facility or jail at some point. In comparison, only 15% of the general population has been incarcerated or detained. We address this disproportionality by providing basic needs and listening to youth so that they can share their solutions.
Donations like yours help us obtain and sustain needs for the youth we serve, like community and belonging built through meals or a coffee with our peers during sessions. Other needs include down payments to secure housing or working cell phones to enable the ability of navigating resources, connecting with your peer counselor, applying for jobs, and being reachable for callbacks, appointments, and things alike. With proper funding, we're even able to provide a mattress to sleep on once our peers achieve housing. While these donations are imperative to run our programs to success, the most important part is an involved and active community like yours.
We're so appreciative of you taking the time to give attention to these empowering solutions, and you're all actively making a difference by seeking ways to get involved. Thank you for your part.
Offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received.
Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Fill the big cup, drain the barrel, fa la 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 la. Draw the ancient Christmas carol, fa la 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 la. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Fill the big cup, drain the barrel, fa la 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 la. Draw the ancient Christmas carol, fa la 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 la. See the flowing bowl before us, fa la 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 la. Fa la 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 la.
Thank you so much for your generosity in all the ways that you share your many gifts. This morning, we do what humans done for as long as we have existed. We gather in times of worry and anxiety, and in times of celebration and joy. We come into our community bringing all that is in our lives, on our minds and in our hearts. Let's open our hearts to the complexity of life as we place stones in the water of community. You will hear a drumbeat today. Allow its resonance to enter into your body. It is the heartbeat of life, the heartbeat of this community. So right now, I invite you to take a deep breath in and out. Feel the air in your body as it supports your life. Feel the earth beneath us as she supports all life. Feel the warmth of connection that supports our community. Tuesday, December 10th, is United Nations International Human Rights Day, which will be observed around the world. It commemorates the anniversary of one of the world's most groundbreaking global pledges, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, signed in Paris on December 10th, 1948. Translated into 577 languages, it declares the inalienable rights that everyone is entitled to as a human being, fundamental human rights that are to be universally protected. In a world where so many are hurting, may we lend our hands and hearts to help make this so. Ann Yo shares that she and Ken, who died in April, were married in Hawaii 50 years ago today, on December 7th, 1974. And we celebrate the life and love that you and Ken shared, sending you our love and care today. Liz Clement celebrated surrogate baby Flynn's first birthday this past week. Yeah, let's do a big aw, shall we? Aw, absolutely. Liz shares that Flynn and family are thriving, and she looks forward to visiting them in the new year. Liz also shares ongoing gratitude for the magnificent care and support which our OUUC community surrounded them with in the months around Flynn's birth a year ago. And last, thank you to the worship arts team and choir members who so lovingly decorated the OUUC building for the holidays. Thank you for making our space festive this holiday season. Absolutely. So now let's open our circle wide. For those on Zoom, I invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat. Those in the sanctuary can see your sharing on the screen, and it's shared with me and the pastoral care team. For those on site today, I invite you to come forward if there's something you would like to bring in this community. You may place a stone in the water as you hold your sharing in your heart. Let's hear the heartbeat of our community and reach out our hearts in love and care to all who share this day. We'll place a stone in the water for all that has been shared online. And we place one more stone in the water for all that we hold in our hearts and that remains unspoken. We hold together all that has been shared. May you feel yourself witnessed. May you know yourself beloved. I invite you now to settle in whatever way is comfortable for you to breathe and be present. I invite you to bring your attention to this moment as you breathe in and breathe out. Notice your body, how you feel, beginning with your head, your face, your neck and shoulders, arms and hands, your torso, your belly, legs and feet. Notice your heartbeat as you breathe in and out. Notice your senses. What do you hear, see, smell? What do you feel? Notice the presence of what is around you, wherever you are. And notice what is beyond you, calling to you. And as you notice, let's be in silence together.
Today's first reading is Crystal of Creation by Reverend Tess Baumberger. If there is a heaven, it is right here, right now. In this particular arrangement of nature, this happening of earth, moon, and star, this constellation of instants, this laden moment, this flash of recognition, this particle of time. If there is a God, it is all around us, everywhere, in every blinking eye, in every pulsing possibility, in every ugliness, in every beauty, in every wholeness, every part. If there is an axiom in the universe, it is life, it is love, it is death, it is hatred, it is wanting and needing to be in this crystal of creation.
How do we speak about something that we have no words for? This is the challenge of poets and preachers. Spirit, the holy, love, the divine, the interconnected web, God, presence. These are the kinds of words we use to describe something greater than ourselves when we feel the presence of something beyond us. Now, some of us may be uncomfortable with these kinds of words. Others are nodding as if they are familiar or perhaps even an old friend. Some of us have had these kinds of connecting experiences to a presence beyond us, and others have not. Now, you might think that religion must somehow be involved in these experiences of profound connection. And it is a connection to something greater. Sometimes people even describe these experiences in religious terms. And some people even have these experiences in church. There are religions that have beliefs about the presence of the holy in all things. Animists understand the world with the belief that everything has a spirit. So humans are just as spiritual as animals and trees and rocks. Everything is of the divine, and everything is worthy of being listened to. The ancient Japanese religion of Shintoism, which is practiced by millions today, has a similar belief that every living thing has spirit. People who practice Hinduism believe that God is in everything. God is everywhere, always. Gnostics, practitioners of an ancient Greek religion, believed that there is a divine spark in each person. And this idea influenced Christianity, which holds that Jesus is a divine being that took human form to lead humans back to the light of God. The Christian Bible's Gospel of John speaks of the true light that enlightens everyone. Quakers believe that everyone can experience the light within and that we hear its presence in silence and in community. But it isn't necessary that experiences of presence or profound connection are related to religion. There are many who describe their experiences in terms such as mystery and wonder, particularly of nature. Writers like Aldo Leopold, Rachel Carson, and Joanna Macy. I can see the divine in the photographs of Ansel Adams and Georgia O'Keeffe. I hear it in the poetry of Mary Oliver. Architect Frank Lloyd Wright was quoted as saying, "I believe in God, only I spell it nature." It is the divinity in all things that drives many of us to work for climate justice and the protection of all beings. Barbara Ehrenreich was a writer, activist, scientist, and avowed atheist. And in her book, Living with a Wild God, she explored the experiences of presence that she had throughout her life and how she came to understand those experiences. She described times of dissociation when the entire world seemed on fire and alive. She initially chalked her experience up to mental illness of some kind, and it scared her. These kinds of experiences have led people to be diagnosed with schizophrenia or other mental illness. We have a long history of calling our mystics mentally ill. Ehrenreich was both afraid and compelled to explore the history of religions in an attempt to place herself in some religious tradition. She speculated that people in a religious context probably have an easier time understanding these kinds of experiences because they have a religious framework. And she was concerned because, as she wrote, quote, "The impasse was this. If I let myself speculate even tentatively about something, if I acknowledge the possibility of a non-human agent or agents, some mysterious other intervening in my life, could I still call myself an atheist?" She went on to say, "But non-believers have mystical experiences too, and mine seem to locate me squarely in the realm of animism, the idea that everything is alive." And so she understood her experience of the presence not as the presence of God, but as the presence of life. She remained an atheist all of her life. She acknowledged an other, something outside of us, outside of her, and bigger than all of us. And as a scientist, Ehrenreich was clear to say that this was not a matter of belief. She didn't believe in something she couldn't prove or observe. She says that as much as she can trust herself and her senses, she knows her experiences to have been real. I recently experienced this sense of presence on my travels during my sabbatical. When I stood near the spot in Memphis, Tennessee, where the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was killed, I felt a profound presence and sense of grief that brought me to tears. Based on the tears of those who were around me, I was not alone in that sense of presence as we were connected to each other, to our history, and to something greater. I felt a similar sense of presence when I stood at the Little Bighorn Battlefield National Monument in South Dakota. Presence and grief. On that spot, I could feel the presence of those who died there and the grief of their loved ones, as well as the profound grief of the Native people who lost so much more. And I also felt connected to those around me who stood in silence, tearful, in this place of mourning. In those moments, in two very different places, I felt presence, connected beyond myself to the arc of history and the pain of those who came before, sharing the human feeling of loss and grief with those in the past and those in the present. Each month this year, we are exploring a spiritual theme or practice, And this month, our spiritual practice is presence. So in this month of many gifts, I invite you to consider the gift of your presence. Approach the practice of presence by noticing the ways that you feel connected to something beyond yourself. It may be a presence, God, spirit, nature, ancestors, whatever you name it. And if you listen closely, can you hear the still, small voice of the divine within you, within others, and beyond?
When I think of the practice of presence, I think of my friend Jennifer. Jennifer and I started a commercial cleaning business together when we were in 8th grade. We called ourselves Partners in Grime, and we even had shirts embroidered by my grandmother, so we could be professional. But despite our catchy name, it never became a large-scale operation. At its peak, we cleaned 3 office buildings together, but it did mean that every weekend we worked together. Jennifer and I were ordinary high school students, full of the usual contradictions. We were loyal and petty, loving and moody, passionate and silly, and our friendship was not always easy. Sometimes we liked the same boy at the same time. Sometimes we felt jealous about the amount of time the other person was spending on another friendship or activity. And sometimes we hurt each other's feelings. But every weekend we cleaned together. Sometimes we started cleaning and there was a noticeable level of tension between us. But somehow after an hour of dusting, vacuuming, and scrubbing toilets in the same office building, one of us would soften, let down our guard, and be vulnerable enough to say, "So I'm actually mad at you because." We noticed this pattern before we were out of high school, and we used to joke with each other that the only reason we stayed friends was because we had to work things out together at least once a week so that we could do our job. But that time in each other's presence was a real gift. It was a routine that kept resentment from building. It was a time where we could count on having the other person's full attention and the space to be honest. Jennifer and I passed the cleaning business down to her 2 younger sisters when we graduated from high school. We went to college in different states, and our lives took different paths. And Jennifer is the only person that I continue to keep in touch with from high school. She is someone who knew me when I played the flute in band and had a crush on Tobin Newcomb. And she's someone who knows me for who I am now. Her friendship continues to be a gift of grounding, consistent presence.
As Whitney so beautifully described, another way to approach the practice of presence is to be fully present in the moment. This is also a spiritual practice that is shared by many religions. Buddhism and Hinduism promote practices like meditation and yoga that bring us back to the present moment in our bodies. Christianity and Islam suggest prayer to open ourselves to the presence of the divine in the present moment. Part of our Unitarian Universalist theology is that there is a spark of the divinity in everyone, an idea passed on to us from our Christian ancestors, and it was our transcendentalist ancestors, Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, that helped bridge the Christian idea of the divine spark into the spark of divinity in everyone. It is this spark of divinity within us that connects us to that which is beyond us, and that we can experience directly if we listen. Our theology says there is no mediating priest that is needed for someone to experience the divine. And we draw from many spiritual practices, many spiritual traditions that have practices that help us be in this moment. And we can approach the practice of presence by asking, what does it mean if the divine is in everyone and in everything? The Unitarian Universalist principle of the inherent worth and dignity of everyone is reflected in our value of equity, in which we declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. And this value, this principle, is one of the bases of our work for justice and our connection to all that is. And being present is not only in the purview of religion. Whitney shared her experience of a friend's steady presence, even in times of conflict. Our story today told of two people who wanted to express their love with gifts, presents, when what they really valued was each other's presence, their attention, loyalty, and love. And right now, this practice of presence is even more important. In this time, it is so easy to be pulled into the events of the past, whether it's nostalgia for what has been or reliving past hurts. And it is so easy to be pulled into the future with worry for what might be ahead of us. Being in this moment gives us the opportunity to let go of the past and the present and be with what is right in front of us right now. It might be a person or an animal or a tree or the voice within or an idea. And it might not be easy to be in this present moment. There may be hurt and uncertainty and grief. It takes great courage to be in this particular moment. And when we are present to this moment, it becomes possible to connect with that which is beyond us, drawing on that connection to all that is as a source of strength. This time also asks us to be present in the midst of difference and conflict. Like Whitney and her longtime friend Jennifer, we must learn to stay in relationship whenever possible, even if we disagree. It is a paradox of being human that even when we are deeply connected to one another, we are different and we will bump up against each other in ways that hurt. And it is especially hurtful when someone we feel close to, someone who we feel is of like mind and like heart, someone in our community bumps up against us in a way that surprises and hurts us. It is part of the human condition, and it is the practice of presence that can help us remain connected to what we value, connected to others, connected to something beyond ourselves. This is the season of Advent, when we await the arrival of the divine incarnate, the season of the miracles of light and the oil that lasted for 8 nights, the season of winter and darkness as we await the return of the light. This is a season of presence, of the holy which is around us everywhere and always. We have but to listen. Let's take that listening into a time of silence.
I invite you to rise in body and our spirit, and let's sing together hymn number 88, Calm Soul of All Things.
We extinguish our chalice with the words of the Reverend Victoria Safford. Now is the moment of magic, and here is a blessing. We already possess all the gifts we need. We've already received our presents: ears to hear music, eyes to behold lights, hands to build true peace on earth, and to hold each other tight in love. May you go with joy, go with commitment, go with love.